think those things will start affecting each other?
Well, I would start with the first question.
Right.
You said, where are the people who want to know the reason why? And I would use my opinion, my humble opinion, and say the reason why is irrelevant to people. And I believe deep down, the individuals who are fighting it, they know the reason why. We're not blind. You have people who've been in America for years, and some of them have been a part of the injustice of our country. And so I think, as a matter of fact, I will go a step further and say, I know individuals know what he's doing. They know why he's kneeling. Individuals are aware of what's happening in our nation, in our communities. What's happening to me is not of importance. Okay. And I believe to focus on patriotism and the flag, to me, is a diversion.
It is.
So
Absolutely.
I will create an issue with something else so that we will not give attention to the real issue.
Therefore, not having to fix that issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is something that will not be addressed. It is something that probably will not be challenged. And that's why you have people like a Kaepernick. I mean, but in history, and you'll find out, there were many Kaepernicks. There were a plethora of Kaepernicks. Things that are happening today it's not new. The Bible tells us that there is nothing new under the sun, and so these type of things have been happening for years. Okay. And so there's nothing new. It's just sad that we're seeing it in 2018. Some of the same stuff that they fought for in the 60s and the 50s and different things like that. Now it's a different way of fighting and a different assault against people of color or whatever, but it is the same actions.
I'm going to bring a caller in, Pastor C,
Yes, sir.
and see what our caller is saying. Caller, you're live with Pastor C, Ambezi, and the Chief.
Hi, Pastor C. Hi, Chief. Hi, Ambezi.
What's up, man? How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How about yourselves?
Great, man. What's going on today?
That's good. I just wanted to add on some more of what you guys were talking about with patriotism. And a lot of times in America, I feel like the black man is not looked at from a patriotic stance. We have people like Crispus Attucks, who's one of the first black men to die in the Revolutionary War. We have a whole bunch of people within our own bloodline. Both of my grandfathers were in the Army and were enlisted in the Army. I have cousins who are overseas right now, serving terms and stuff. And I feel like, for me, when I stand for the national anthem and when I stand for America, that's the people who I'm standing for in honor and in thanks for them and what they've done to this country. It's not necessarily harping on the negative aspects, because I know that's always going to come with anything in life. There's always going to come negative aspects. And, as I feel as black people, it's important for us, especially in America, to harp on not on our side of the history as well as, within the Revolutionary War, with people like I said, Crispus Attucks and a whole bunch of others who have died fighting for this country.
Sure. And that's a great point. I just believe that it's not about patriotism. It's not. And I believe it's a diversion, and we, focus our attention on the minor, and we don't major on what matters, and so
Yes.
We appreciate that, caller. We thank you so much for your input. And there's a lot of other ethnicities who have fought for our country.
Right.
Everybody was not European or Caucasian, if you will. You had all types of colors, man, and ethnicities who fought for this country. And so that flag means a lot to a lot of people.
But, adversely, I think that that's why it makes sense to kneel. Because we do have black people. Because let's be clear, this issue has never been about whether we appreciate our veterans or not. That should come with the territory of living here in the first place. Is appreciating the people who fight for our country. This has never been about that. This is about how black people or people of color, period, have been treated recently, or more than recently, but it's been heightened recently in America. So that's a reason to kneel in my eyes. It's like you said that you have cousins in the army, you have grandfathers that fought for us. We had people who have been fighting since the 1800s who are people of color who are fighting for our country when they weren't even accepted in America. And yet, it seems like we still can't get enough respect to be treated fairly by police officers. So, it's like it kind of all comes together. Why is it that you're talking about in this anthem that America is the land of the free and the home of the brave, when people who are the ethnicity of the very people who fight for this country, regardless of how we've always been treated, can continue to be treated? That's almost that's a slap in the face itself to your grandparents. Because if your grandparents were in the military and they were African American, chances are when they were off that base or when they came back from whatever country they were stationed to, they were not treated fairly. No. So it's like, come on.
Well, let me say this. Law enforcement is a tough job. And there are demands on law enforcement from every conceivable direction. And thank you, caller, for your call as well. Yeah. Law enforcement is a tough job. You have demands from communities of all types of compositions, and every community has different needs. And for example, you have some communities in some of the very areas where you are having these allegations of misconduct, but the citizens, and rightfully so, they're like, look, when I come home from work, I don't want to see 50 people sitting in front of my house. I don't want wine bottles all over the place. I don't want to see junkies and so forth. And they tell the police officials, you have to help us out here. I can't even sit on my front porch at night. So the police come in and they do the things that they do. And so that's not an easy job to do. And then they use a variety of tactics that are approved by the law and by their policies, stop and frisk and asking questions and field interviews and all the things that you see. And all of these things are appropriate. And also, another appropriate thing is community engagement. And you've heard me say this time and time and time again, that it's so important that when you engage in these initiatives, it's so important to have the community right there saying, this is what we would like to do. We need your help in doing it. We want to be right there side by side. Mm-hmm. Now, where you start to have the difficulty is sometimes things or perceptions are bred because you didn't take a half a second just to explain to that carload of people you just stopped why you stopped them.
Right.
The justification for the stop was probably legitimate. Mm-hmm. You had a tag laid out. We were looking for a car that's been involved in robberies. We have gotten this information from the community. But the fact of not relaying that information or just having a sort of a curtness about you, and this isn't all law enforcement officers, but in any profession, when you've been doing something and you do it every day, you sort of fall into a lull where it's just like, it's so routine for me. I'm assuming, Beezy, that you know why I'm doing what I'm doing. Right. But I need to take 5 minutes to explain myself. So I think that none of these concerns are insurmountable.
Right.
And I came from a department, and we were under the guidance of a consent decree from the Department of Justice, and we worked through it. And at times it was painful because we had to change our modus operandi, but we got it done. And so what I'm saying is that law enforcement officers are necessary. They are trained well. They have a lot of things that are expected of them. And unfortunately, like in any profession, you have a few that fall below the standards that the community has set. So I think that it's still so important that, again, we can never shut down the lines of communication.
Right.
We have to show the law enforcement professionals have to show they appreciate and invite the community in, and the community has to show that they appreciate and invite law enforcement in. It has to be mutual respect on both sides. Well, so I'm hoping that is what will occur in the future.
Well, that's actually something that I was going to add because, you know, if we're talking about police officers in general, it kind of goes back to when you both were saying that at some point there has to be somebody who like comes in the middle and kind of calls a truce and settles it, because as much as in the African American community we're going through our thing with police officers, you have to also understand that, you know, and I'm not justifying it, but because of all the things going on and because of the tensions that have risen against police officers, I'm sure innocent, non-racist police officers are still a little bit more on edge when they encounter people of color because of all the things going on. Because, you know, because you have some who, you know, are scared. I mean, I've seen the videos of people getting pulled over and they're scared to encounter police officers, and, you know, the police officer kind of calmly goes through it. But you also have people on the opposite side of it who are radicalists, and it's like, all right, oh, a cop is approaching me, well, let's get it popping. So it's kind of like, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is the faster that we come to a solution here, the better, because it's creating tension on both sides. Yeah. And, you know, it's just like, it's really, really, really not helping on either side, because it's like now there are even statistics that show that more people are apprehensive in calling police officers, which is ridiculous, because regardless of the bad apples you see on the news, they're hired to protect you. And now you have people not even that resource putting themselves in danger because of the things that they see on TV. And adversely, you have the police officers who are just like, you know, it's scary. The tensions are super high against police officers right now because of the things going on. So, you know, I really...
but that's why there has to be dialogue, and I'll give you the last word.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, it appears that the protests in some form or another are here to stay for a while. So hopefully level heads will prevail and people will come together to have candid and productive dialogue, which will result in meaningful solutions. When we come back, the violence continues to thrive in urban cities across America. What can be done about it? Of course, we'll give it to you straight, no chaser. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Straight No Chaser, the only show to quench your talk radio thirst.
We'll talk a little bit about Chicago, and then we're done.
We're done. It's good.
What you think so far?
Anyone else?
My name is David, and in 8 years, I'll be an alcoholic.
Hi, David.
I'll start drinking in middle school, just at parties. But my parents won't start talking to me about it till high school. And by then, I'll already be in some trouble.
Kids who drink before age 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol problems when they're adults.
The thing is, my parents won't even see it coming.
So start talking.
Who's next?
Before they start drinking.
I just remembered it's election day. Are you going to vote?
I don't know. I don't think I'll have time today.
Millions of eligible voters in America never make it to the polls or even register to vote. When you don't vote, you're letting other people make decisions for you and pick the things your taxes will pay for. Voting is more than a civic duty. It gives you a voice about the priorities and the future of your community and our nation. Voting gives you a seat at the table.